I'm going to show you how to make a very simple mask. You'll need the following equipment: some fabric. You'll need 2 pieces cut to 7 by 9 inches, which is the perfect size for an adult female. For a male, you can add 1 inch or 1.5 inches to either side. I've used cotton fabric because it feels nice and soft on the skin, but you can use any fabric you like. An old tea towel or an old office shirt, which also feels quite nice on the skin. You'll need a ruler or a measuring tape to measure your ties and to cut your fabric, some string or ribbon, or if you're feeling really creative, you can make your own straps, which I'll demonstrate later. A pen or a pencil, some pins, a needle and thread, and some scissors. If you have a rotary cutter, you'll get a nice clean finish, but a pair of scissors is just fine. I've chosen to layer my fabric with 2 sheets, and I've folded the fabric in 2. Mark out your fabric, 7 by 9 inches. I've used the markings on the cutting mat, but you can just draw lines. Using a nice firm action, cut twice to make sure that the blade has gone all the way through your fabric, and as you can see, this gives you a very nice clean cut. We don't need to cut the top because this is going to be stitched anyway. Now that the fabric has been trimmed to size, we want to stitch the fabric all the way around. I've used a sewing machine because it makes for a nice clean stitch, but you can use a needle and thread. Leave around 1/2 centimetre or 1 centimetre from the edge. Leave a gap on one side, any side, as we need to turn the fabric inside out. Make sure that you put the design on the inside because we want to see the design when we wear the mask. Turn your fabric inside out. You can use a pencil or a ruler to turn the corners out. This will give us a nice clean finish. Once you've done that, just fold in the loose edge, which you'll need to sew with the needle and thread. I'm using an iron to flatten down the fabric so that it's easier to work with. Next, we want to start making the folds for the mask. 3 folds is a good number. You can use 4 folds if you like, but I like 3 folds because it's much easier to sew on the machine. And again, you can iron and flatten the fabric down so it's easier to sew. Using some pins to keep the fabric in place, we'll now sew the edges down on both sides. For our ties, we need 2 lengths of fabric, 3.5 to 4 centimetres wide by 90 centimetres long. Next, we'll fold inwards from both sides and fold in again. You'll need nimble fingers to do this. You can also iron the fabric down. This will make it much easier to sew. The wider you keep the width of your tie, the easier it will be to work with. Because I want thin ties, I've kept the fabric quite thin, just 1 inch. If you're using a sewing machine, it will be easier to sew if you pull the fabric tight before you sew, and this will help you to secure your folds. I'm just using a small piece to demonstrate, but your ties need to be around 90 centimetres long. This is a generous length, which you can always trim if it's too long. Having also stitched the sides of our mask, we're now going to attach our ties. You can sew both of these parts using a sewing machine, or you can use a needle and thread. If you like, you can sew down the ties directly onto the mask, but I find it easier to do them separately. We want to place the middle of the tie into the middle of the mask. You can use your marker to ensure your tie is in the centre of your mask, and use some pins to hold it in place while you sew. The ties have now been stitched onto the mask, and here we have it, our finished mask.